Irving isolated on Jetty Osman, and he comes through with the fadeaway. Nice move. Spins, got that one. Creates some separation. Brooklyn's nice here. Cavs turn it over. Everybody run the floor. Harden, Durant, Irving. For Sexton and Osman, that's a bit too much. Harden finds Kyrie. That's an easy layup. Nets started 10 of 10 from the field. That's perfect. Durant, Irving, Harden scored or assisted on 9 of the 10 field goals. They still trailed by 2 at the half, 51-49. They're down 4 in the third. Irving missing here. Cavs get it. We're in transition. Larry Nance Jr., Sexton drives to the hoop and lays that in. That looked frighteningly easy. Harden steal attempt, not great. Kyrie lets Sexton go by him. Durant doesn't seem to want to contest as well. Our boy Sexton's just getting started. Irving isolated Andre Drummond. That's quick versus size. He manages to get it up over him and in. Next defensive possession for the Nets. Damian Dotson left wide open. Cavs 11 of 13 on uncontested field goals in the third. You shouldn't leave a guy uncontested 13 times. They trailed by 9 going to the fourth. The Nets did. Harden. Can I have a step back three? Thank you. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists. Another triple-double for him. 3 minutes left. Brooklyn trailing 5. Durant weaving through. He had 38, 12 of 25 shooting. Cuts it to a one-possession game. Joe Harris going to miss there. He's just 2 of 10. But Irving, who had just 2 rebounds in this game, 1 offense, 1 defense, gets by Sexton to put it back. Ties the game at 113. 11 seconds to go. Sexton turns it over. Irving pushing the ball up the court. And he's going to go right by him. And now, wait, we've got the ball loose. We got a dude on the ground. Irving's not happy. Offensive foul called. They look at it again. So he got in the way. One guy got it in the chops. They reversed the call. We're going to go jump ball. Yeah, missed opportunity. We got to go to overtime. Irving, first overtime. Hint. Straightaway 3. He goes 48 minutes in that first game back. 15 of 28, 37 points. He's going to feel that for sure. Nance from the wing, clutch.
We can shoot those.
Yeah, we're even at 120. Everybody seemed to be able to shoot.
That's true.
In this one, Jeff, who's taking big shots late for the Nets? How about Jeff Green, 4 of 7, 16 points. Then Sexton over Irving.
Oh my!
Second and a half left. That's clutch. Kevin Love, Darius Garland. That's our boy right there. Nets still got a chance, 1.2, because they got the dot. They got to advance it. Durant, no, short there. He played 50 minutes. How about that? He goes 50. Harden goes 50. Irving goes 48.
They're not deep.
We're into the second overtime, and minutes 54 through 58 all belong to Colin Sexton. 3 over Irving.
Young legs.
There's Durant. I mean, he kind of put a hand in his face. Didn't matter. Sexton's going to have 15 points all by his lonesome in the overtime. Cavs would score 20 in the overtime. Win going away in this thing, 147, 135. They learned to do the polka on the bench there, apparently, in Cleveland.
Look Nets.
Some great glimpses. We started off the game very, very, very good. Just the entire game, we just got to find a way to get stops when we need to. Offensively, they're not statistically, they're not a very good team, but they made some shots tonight. So we just got to watch some film, get better, and, chip away. We're still early in this process. It's only game 1 for all of us. So we got a long way to go, but we're still excited about, everything that's going on.
You kind of touched on it there, but just your thoughts on that second overtime. I know Colin got hot, but what were you seeing there in that second overtime that, got them going?
That was it. He made shots. We started switching a little bit more, and he made some tough shots over contested hands. He made a tough shot over Kai to force I think, second overtime or overtime. I can't remember which one, but he made tough shots. This is a make or miss league, so if guys are going to be hitting shots like that, it's going to be tough for anybody. But I think overall it's a pretty good game for us, and we watch the film and continue to get better.
Ryan Lewis, New York Post.
Hey, James. I'm curious, defensively in the fourth quarter, I mean, do you chalk any of that up to fatigue on your guys' part, unfamiliarity with each other defensively as you build chemistry, or do you just say, hey, he hit shots and there was a hand in his face?
Fatigue. I mean, he made some tough shots. Everybody started at that point, he made tough shots, and if he missed those shots, then it's good defense. No, he made some tough shots. Everybody's tired at that point, and I think we did enough, especially in fourth quarter and first overtime. I don't know how many points he had in that second overtime, but I think he had majority of them. chalk your hat up to him.
Christian Winfield, New York Daily News.
Hey, James, I asked Kyrie, what it took for him, LeBron, and Kevin Love, obviously, in Cleveland that championship year to kind of come together as a unit and gel as a big three. And he said the two things it took for them were resolve and open and honest communication with one another. Can you kind of just take me down what it was like for you and Kevin Durant and Russ back in OKC to kind of come together and really make that run as a championship team?
Like you said, just being open with each other, communication. That's it. We all have a very great skill set. It's just communication. Of where we want each other to be. When things are going great, when things are going bad, and that's all that matters. If we're on the same page, we have that communication. We have a very good chance of winning majority of our games.
Bruce Beck, NBC New York.
James, do you need games like this for chemistry to continue to evolve? Is it reps? Is it time together?
It's a little bit of both, reps and time. Obviously, it would have been great for us to win and, and still figure things out. But a loss is still great as well, especially, it's how you bounce back from the loss. It's learning from your mistakes, learning from the losses, and not making the same mistakes 2 times in a row. So, we got a long way to go, but I think we're in the right direction, and we got some film to watch. And defensively, we got to be a lot better. And offensively, I think we still had 135 points. So just correct some things on our switching and our defensive principles.
Malik Andrews, ESPN.
James, you played a career high 50 minutes and 30 odd seconds tonight. How does your body feel now? And then are there things that you can do in game to kind of manage yourself if you're going to be playing that long, especially with the schedule being kind of every other day games right now?
Well, I wasn't expecting to go over double overtime. I think in that fourth quarter, we were just making a push to try to, win the game. And, I think we did a good job of that. Double overtime now, I don't know, just ice, stretch, do the proper things. We have an unbelievable training staff. So just get with them and making sure that I'm prepared and ready for go Friday. This is a schedule. This is where we're in. No excuses. So, we just got to be prepared and ready to go when it's game time.
Last question, Alex Schiffer, The Athletic.
Hey, James, you had a slow start offensively tonight, and then even in your first 2 games, you've taken your time scoring in the first quarter. Is that just you? You talk about the unselfishness. Is that at work, or is that just you trying to get a feel for the defense and how everyone else is kind of playing off you?
Trying to get a feel for this entire situation. It'll come to me. I'm not worried. I'm not in a rush. Very, very patient, and things will come. So that's all it is patience and patience, communication, and figure things out, which they will.
So many. First, the Nets have to make the finals. They have to make the finals. Let's just assume for a second that Kyrie is on the team and will play for the Nets at some point this season. This is the only big 3 in the NBA. I don't mean there are 2 great players and here's their 3rd best player. I mean big 3. And whenever we've seen a big 3, they at least make the finals. Celtics put together Pierce and Garnett and Ray Allen. They won. Even when Miami failed, they failed in the finals when they had LeBron and Wade and Bosh. There's no other big 3. 2 MVPs who are still at MVP level and a 3rd guy in Kyrie Irving who's more than just an all-star. He has MVP talent and achieves that all-star plus production. You have those 3 guys, you're supposed to get to the finals at least. And they had to make the deal. Earlier I said, no, you don't trade for James Harden, don't mess this up. But then Dinwiddie was lost for the season. So in fact, kind of counterintuitively, as you lost some depth, as the Nets lost depth and another ball handler in the backcourt, they actually had to lose more depth in order to get high-end talent to compensate. But they did lose depth. They lost Allen. They lost LeVert. And Houston got a haul. 4 firsts and 4 swaps. That's an amazing haul considering the leverage that Brooklyn had because Harden was out of there. And this is what I mean when I say superstars, Stephen A. in the league, have all the leverage. What do I mean by that? Well, they can sign where they want when their deal is up, LeBron, KD, whomever, right? And they go from team to team. But because of that, guys like AD, say whatever you want about how long it took. AD wanted to go to the Lakers. Where did he wind up? The Lakers. Say whatever you want to say about Harden and the ups and downs. He said he wanted to go to Brooklyn. Where did he wind up? Brooklyn. Let this be a lesson to the owners in case they didn't already understand. If you have a superstar, an MVP caliber player, he's going to wind up where he says he wants to go anyway. Make the best deal you can. Now, finally, Stephen A., they have their work cut out for them. Not only is this not a good defensive team right now, but they're not adding a guy who's like a stalwart defender, in the first place. And James Harden, though his defense till this year, we'll throw this out, has improved through the years. And also, there's only one ball. And while KD is a super great player, with or without the ball, doesn't matter, James Harden and Kyrie Irving both really need and want and like that ball. So they have their work cut out for them. But this team is finals or bust this year.
Well, definitely finals or bust. We agree there. But what I would tell you is, as it pertains to what was on my mind when the deal was first announced, never has James Harden been under more pressure than he is this year. The same could be said for Kyrie Irving, whose career I believe is on the line. You have people looking at him and wondering whether he's worth the trouble. We know what an ultra-talented person he is. He's a superstar talent. We get all of that. But guess what? Right now, he can't play better than me. You know why, Max? Because both of us are not on the court. He's somewhere else other than the Barclays Center, on the road with his team. I'm on television. He ain't doing anything on the court that I ain't doing, because neither one of us are there. Think about that and put that in its proper perspective. It does not matter how great you are if you don't put your greatness on display and you don't appreciate your greatness to the point where you don't showcase it in the fashion that he is supposed to. In the case of James Harden, this is the deal. You in Houston, you wanted Dwight Howard, then you didn't. You wanted CP3, then you didn't. You wanted Russell Westbrook, then you didn't mind y'all parting ways, even though y'all are still boys. In the end, because Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni ended up going too, you decided that you wanted out. Fair enough. But since you arrived in Houston and since you've averaged 25 a game every season in your career in Houston, 30 over the last 3 years, 29 over the last 4 minimum, 28 over the last 5 minimum. Now you're playing with a dude who's better than you in Kevin Durant, who's a flat-out superstar in this game. Fresh off an Achilles tear, 18 months out of action, first 8 games playing this season, averaging 29 a game on 54% shooting. There is no excuse for the Brooklyn Nets not to make it to the NBA Finals. And the likelihood is that if we look at them and they don't make it, it'll be because Harden didn't show up, figuratively, or Kyrie didn't show up, possibly literally. And so as a result of that, I thought about the pressure that these two have on their shoulders because Kevin Durant is leading the pack. Not only is he a superstar, he is one of the most unselfish superstars we've ever witnessed on the basketball court. This dude was averaging 28 a game, shooting 17 shots a game. Kyrie was averaging 26 and shooting 20 a game. So think about that for a second here. And if somebody's going to sacrifice, who's going to sacrifice and make sure that Kevin Durant doesn't have to sacrifice any more than he already has? That's the question mark in all of this. Kevin Durant, as long as he goes out there and plays the way that he plays, we're not going to look at him. We're going to look at Harden or Kyrie Irving, possibly both, because somebody's going to have to sacrifice somewhere. Chris Bosh was a third wheel at sacrifice. Ray Allen was a third wheel at sacrifice. Klay Thompson was a third wheel who sacrificed. Who's going to be that guy that makes the sacrifice for the Brooklyn Nets here? That's why Kyrie Irving and James Harden are so pivotal in all of this. And that's what I thought about, Max. That's what first came to my mind when I first learned that this deal was done.
Obviously, those thoughts are legit. Only thing I would add in terms of who the pressure's on, I think there's a lot of focus on Kyrie because he seems to be melting right now, and James Harden because, okay, James, you want Dwight Howard, you want Russell Westbrook, you want Chris Paul, you want Russell Westbrook. Now, after a year, it doesn't work out. You want to go to Brooklyn. You're joining 2 other superstars. You better win. But in fact, Stephen A., think about who the best player on the team is. I think there's actually the most pressure on KD, strangely, because LeBron, wherever he goes, figures out a way to make it work. It's not just that he has supernatural passing ability. He knows how to lead a group of guys to the promise.
Kyrie Irving obviously didn't play last night. He hasn't played in the last 5 games due to personal reasons. What should we expect from him?
I think when Kyrie gets back, and by the way, the next game he misses will mean that in his Nets tenure, he will have missed twice as many games as he's played. He hasn't been durable, and even when he's been physically healthy, sometimes he hasn't been available, and maybe because of his behavior off the court, he won't be available even if his personal issues are settled to the point where he can play and he's physically ready. I mean, that's a lot of lack of availability from Kyrie. But let's say by the All-Star break, all that stuff is squared away and he's playing with this team. Kyrie has shown in the past that whether he's on ball or off ball, he is capable of playing with another ball-dominant. I mean, you want to call LeBron a backcourt player, a front-court player. LeBron runs your offense. He's played with a guy like that and has had to play off ball at times and has also been, the primary ball handler at times. Kyrie has already shown that he's capable of playing with a guy like that. Now, LeBron is a more generous passer because he's a more brilliant basketball mind in that respect than James Harden, and probably that made it easier for Kyrie Irving. But I do expect, at least on offense, for the potential for Kyrie to fit in with Harden and KD.
Kyrie is the person that we should all keep our eyes on. And we should all keep our eyes on because in reality, Kyrie Irving is going to be the third option on this team. And the question is, how receptive is he going to be to that? We don't know. We know that Kyrie's a superstar talent. We know that he's got the nastiest handling skills in basketball. As far as I'm concerned, he's box office. When he wants to play, he is worth paying to see play. But I'm going to tell you, Max, what I heard yesterday. I was reminded yesterday, and I read part of the quote to you on the air, where I was told that, listen, he keeps this up, the Brooklyn Nets may have the power to void his contract. Now, do I think something like that is going to happen? No. I do not believe that's going to happen. I don't think Kevin Durant's going to let that happen. I think Kevin Durant loves him too much. He values him too much. He respects him too much. He wants him there. That's not going to happen. And I do believe that Kyrie Irving, because Kevin Durant is his friend, in the end is not going to let KD down. I truly believe that. But that does not mean we get to negate mentioning what has transpired thus far. What has transpired thus far is that he's left them to hang and dry. Not just KD, but the Brooklyn Nets as an organization being very unpredictable. He's healthy. He's not playing. He's healthy. He's not playing. He's on social media, caught on social media, partying with family members and friends. He's on social media doing stuff for social justice issues, which we all appreciate and respect, particularly as black people in this nation. And we definitely owe him a debt of gratitude for, and his charitable tendencies. The WNBA can speak to that along with various others. His heart is clearly in the right place. But the focus, the discipline, the determination that comes along with being a star of a franchise and doing your job first, he has clearly not mastered that. And so because of it, you have to look at him and wonder what's going to happen, because what is the Brooklyn Nets as an organization supposed to tolerate? And dare I say, Max, what is the NBA supposed to tolerate? What kind of message is sent? If you remember, Max, I told you years ago, the only thing that I lamented about with LeBron James when he made the announcement, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, how he handled things with Dan Gilbert, owners remembered that came CBA negotiation time. And you never can ignore that, because usually it's not the individual player that gets his comeuppance down the road. It's the players that have less value, and the hammer is brought down on the collective whole because of the actions of a few. You never know with this stuff, and you got to pay attention to it.
Well, look, Kyrie has to look himself in the mirror right now, because the fact is, you're right to point this out, which you kind of alluded to. In Cleveland, he was the second best player in a big three. Now he is the third best player in a big three. That's a little different. But the reason I say he has to look at himself in the mirror is, who do you think is a better shooter, Harden or Kyrie? The answer, by the numbers, is Kyrie. He shoots the three better. Of course, Harden takes a lot more of them. He shoots free throws a little better. Although, again, Harden takes more of them. And in terms of finishing in the paint under the rim, I think Kyrie is the best I've ever seen. Certainly, he's on a very, very short list. So from Kyrie Irving's point of view, he's like, actually, when you break down the skills, how is this dude better than me? But he is, and that's universally acknowledged, and Kyrie has to ask himself why. Now, as far as James Harden's concerned, Stephen A., he's the dude who's going to have to be sacrificing, in fact, because really Harden's greatness is this. A lot of guys shoot the three as well or better than him, at least by the numbers, free throws too, all that stuff. Harden's greatness really comes out. His usage is so high. He plays so many minutes. He's involved so much in the offense, and yet he's able to maintain those rates. Usually, if you shoot from three or free throws a certain level, especially from three, the more you shoot it, maybe that's going to go down a little because you're taking tough shots, you're shooting a lot of them. Harden's doesn't at all.
Max.
A lot of his value is that kind of stuff, how he can fill it up. He's the one, Stephen A., who's going to be giving up touches that he normally wouldn't be giving up,
Max.
more than Kyrie.
I spoke to two coaches yesterday, and I'll end the segment by saying this, Molly. I spoke to two coaches yesterday. They laughed at them being in Brooklyn. They said, all the talent in the world, let's see what Kyrie does. Will he even be there, Stephen A.? And they left it at that. That's
Stephen A., let me ask you one thing real quick. You recall, I'm sure, and this is right before my time, when Earl the Pearl Monroe got traded to the Knicks from Washington and joined Clyde Frazier. And Clyde Frazier, very different personality than Kyrie Irving, of course. The whole question in New York basketball is, how are these two dudes, right, Black Jesus and Clyde Frazier, going to share the ball? There's only one ball. They won a championship together. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but you got to.
We're just not good enough. We're not even close, honestly.
For us to be on the receiving end of the disrespectful comments and antics is completely unfair to us.
When we have certain guys in the mix that don't want to buy in all as one, it's going to be hard to do anything good as a basketball team.
I love this city. I literally done everything that I can. The situation is something that I don't think can be fixed.
Breaking news tonight. James Harden has been traded.
He gets his wish in every way. The trade to the Brooklyn Nets in a blockbuster deal that's going to have ripple effects throughout the NBA.
All right, Joel, here's the breakdown of the trade. Harden lands with the Nets, obviously. The Rockets get a package including Victor Oladipo, 4 first-round picks, 4 first-round swaps. Indiana gets Karis LeVert, while Cleveland gets Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. On that note, we bring in Richard Jefferson. RJ, it's been a good minute. Good to see you. Happy
good
New
to
Year.
see you
Hope all
guys.
is well. I will get to you, in just a minute, sir, but I'm going to start with Max. Max, are the Rockets winners or losers after this Harden trade?
They're winners in this trade. And it's because, look, the history of the NBA is whoever gets the best player in the deal wins the deal, right? So we start with there. We start with that. You want the best player in the deal. But the history also is, especially the modern history, if a superstar wants to get traded, he's not only going to get traded, a superstar, an MVP caliber player, he's going to go exactly where he wants. AD eventually, it took a while, got to L.A., didn't he? Right? Because they let the other teams know he ain't going to re-sign with you. He's going to re-sign with L.A. They traded him to L.A., and they got what they could. Same thing with Harden. You said Brooklyn, no. Where did he wind up? In Brooklyn. And that's because once they become free agents, even if it takes another year or two, they're just going to sign there anyway. LeBron, KD, they go where they want to go. So that's what the Rockets were working with. And what did they get in exchange? They got not just LeVert, who turned into Oladipo. Let's not forget, I know he's coming off a catastrophic injury. Oladipo's only 28 years old. And Oladipo, not all that long ago, was the best player on a dangerous playoff team. Like, he's very good when healthy, if he can get back to what he was. And, more importantly even, 4 first-round picks unprotected. Now, the first 2 aren't going to be much because Brooklyn's going to be really good. The Milwaukee pick won't be much, or at least the first one for Brooklyn, and the first one, the one they got from Milwaukee, because Brooklyn had Milwaukee's pick, ain't going to be great. Those are going to be good teams. But by 2024, do we know what Brooklyn's going to be? By 2026 and 7, do we know what Brooklyn's going to be? Because not only did they get 4 picks, they have 4 unprotected first-round swaps. So if Brooklyn winds up with a better pick than Houston, Houston gets to trade. And given the age of the roster and what they gave up, Brooklyn's going to be really good for a little while and then probably not so good. Houston, considering the way their hands were tied, made off like bandits here. They got a haul.
Max, you think about the haul and you're thinking about picks, and I respect that. I get where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to sit up there and say that I disagree because I don't want to classify them as losers. But for the purposes of this conversation, the question that was presented to us, I'd lean towards that than winning because of this. All of those things you mentioned involve unknown entities outside of Victor Oladipo. And I know Victor Oladipo can ball. We still haven't seen him return to the Victor Oladipo we know and love because obviously he ravaged that knee and he's getting back, and props to him because he's still averaging over 20 a game. He didn't want to be in Indiana anymore. They couldn't work out, a contractual situation. Neither side could come to an accord, and we get all of that. So you're going to get him, and pairing him with John Wall, who I've been very pleased by. I like what I've seen from John Wall, and I think he's only going to get better and better, to be quite honest with you. But the bottom line is this. You don't really have a known entity. All of those picks, what are they going to manufacture into? I'm a Knicks fan, as you well know, and I wish Obi Toppin nothing but the best. And, I think that he's got potential. But everybody knows I was on the record wanting Tyrese Halliburton. And look at what he's doing in Sacramento right now. You just don't know who's going to draft who and how it's going to work out. You have to wait and see. The Houston Rockets had an opportunity to get Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons would have come along with another player. Ben Simmons and another player, maybe like that kid Maxey out of Kentucky or somebody else, along with a draft pick or two, I think could have been better. And I think James Harden forced their hand, even though they were talking about it. He expedited the process and prevented them from dragging their feet any longer by doing and saying the things that he did and said, which I don't necessarily applaud, but I totally understand what he was doing in terms of trying to get the hell out of Houston. In the end, what it comes down to is that Ben Simmons doesn't shoot. He does everything else. He's special. And if I got an opportunity to get my hands on somebody like a Ben Simmons, and I can get somebody else who can play and shoot the basketball along with a couple of picks, and I'm not saying definitively that they could have had a couple of picks. I know they could have had at least one, but Philly had all their picks available to them. They weren't willing to unload both Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. It was just going to be Ben Simmons and another player, one of their younger guys. I think that potentially might end up having been a better option than just loading up on a bunch of picks because they're unknowns, particularly with the state of college basketball being what it is right now. I just think that I would have gone the route of a surefire dude that I know could get it done on a night in, night out basis. That's just me.
Yeah, no, Stephen, I agree with you in theory. When we're talking about who wins this trade, it's hard to really go into what they could potentially have gotten with other teams, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, in this situation, who won this trade? And I was always taught in order for it to be a fair negotiation, both sides need to walk away a bit unhappy, right? It's like you look at what Houston got. Now they got a ton of picks. Now understand how they got James Harden. They got James Harden because they had a ton of picks many, many years ago, and they turned those picks into James Harden. Now, a lot of times these picks aren't always used on players, and I agree with you. Tyrese Halliburton has been balling for Sacramento. He's been playing great. So that was definitely a steal, and kudos to Sacramento for pulling that one off. But when you really break down this Houston situation, maybe those picks aren't drafted players. Maybe these picks and all that you've accumulated allows you to go get another player, allows you to go get an all-star or an all-star caliber player. So when I look at the future and the leverage of what Houston has, I think it is.
I said that Kawhi Leonard is under the most pressure.
Okay.
We already had this conversation. But now, since James Harden did what he did and now he's with the Brooklyn Nets, I have a change of heart. And now I feel like he's under the most pressure because he's the one without a ring.
All right. You're right, because I didn't recall you saying that about Kawhi. My bad.
Look, the difference is there's pressure to get to the conference finals for sure for Kawhi. But we just saw it last season. And though Kawhi choked in Game 7, that wasn't normal for him in the playoffs. He had a very good playoff series, an excellent one, until then. It was Paul George who choked. And have they done it? That's what Paul George has done throughout his career in the playoffs. Have they added anyone that would change that? We were all talking about, what if they got Chris Paul? What if they got Rondo, right? They didn't get any of that stuff. No, they replaced Montrezl Harrell with Serge Ibaka. That's nice, but that's not the kind of addition that team needed to be considered the favorite.
What?
Let's be honest about this.
Max.
And you guys are saying Kawhi because he's the best player on the team. Hold on, time out. KD is the best player on a team that already had Kyrie and is adding James Harden. He has to get to the finals, guys. He got to get to the finals.
Max, you know what? You something else, because about a month ago, or maybe even less than that, you was just sitting up here arguing me down, telling me how Serge Ibaka was a huge upgrade from Montrezl Harrell. Now you sitting up here saying, "Oh, it's a nice."
It's a marginal upgrade. I didn't say huge. It's a marginal upgrade. And by the way, LeBron James got AD, right? AD, how did he play throughout the playoffs? Like an MVP. LeBron is with another MVP. Kawhi not with another MVP, let's be honest. But guess what? KD not only has Kyrie, who's been a killer in the playoffs, he's got another MVP, at least in the regular season. No one else has a big three like Brooklyn. You're going to tell me that the best player on that team, a guy who joined already a championship team, a 73-win team, to kind of reverse engineer his rings, that dude's not under pressure?
You're talking. You know what, Max? And here's my issue. You know, first of all, you dissecting basketball with people who know more basketball than you. That's number one. But number two, and more importantly, this is the biggest thing that I'm going to bring up, Max. You're ignoring this. You're ignoring the storyline. In all seriousness, Max, you're ignoring the storyline. And I get what you're saying about KD. I understand. I get what Kendrick Perkins is saying even more about James Harden. Kawhi Leonard, 29 years old, man. He's 29. You calling out a cat that was 35 years of age at the time. What does LeBron do? He answers the call and delivers a chip to L.A. And he's now there, the prohibitive favorite. You still in town. You got Doc Rivers is out of there. He's no longer the coach. Montrezl Harrell is gone. Okay, Lou Williams is on the bench last night. I don't know why. I got to ask Ty Lue about that. But I'm just saying, we got to look to me, to not focus on Kawhi is to completely let him off the hook about competing with LeBron. We want that confrontation, do we not? Do we not want that confrontation? Don't y'all want to see that?
Hold on.
I want to see that. I want to see
No
that.
doubt. But we're talking about the most pressure. And how can you, on the day after James Harden is traded to Kevin Durant's team, who already has Kyrie, how can you sit here and talk about, I'm missing the storyline, it's Kawhi? Yeah, that is a storyline. Kawhi is not playing with another MVP caliber player. They did not drastically address what the team needed to address.
But I didn't say James Harden wasn't under pressure.
By the way, Percy, you talked about a vocal leader, a floor general, but that's not what the Clippers did. They had marginal improvement at power forward. That's their big move. James Harden's coming to Brooklyn. Of course that puts more pressure on KD.
He's coming to Brooklyn, but the focus is also on what Kyrie Irving is going to do and how is Kevin Durant going to help manage all of that. In L.A., it's about that dude ultimately going against LeBron. I mean, enough's enough. I love Kawhi Leonard as a player. I mean, my God, he's one of the elite players. I want to see him against King James. You said you were coming to take the crown. Great. LeBron got the crown now. You gonna get it or what? You gonna go after him or what? What you gonna do? That's what I want to see from Kawhi. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
No, and Stephen A., you have a valid point. But here's my thing: if KD, Kawhi, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, if those five guys decide to shut it down and retire tomorrow, they gonna be sleeping well that night with no regrets because they have champions.
That's fair. That's fair.
James Harden, if he retired tomorrow, he still gonna have that over.
But I got to retort
that he never won a title. That's
I got to
all I'm
retort to
saying.
that. I got you, and I'll respond by saying this: is it possible? Stay with me on this. Is it possible that James Harden and KD are flowing? And then potentially Kyrie Irving becomes a disruptive force at the most inopportune time, and it could compromise their success.